Howdy folks, and welcome out to the claim. Today we're going to run the wash plant on some new material that I found on the back side of the claim to see if it has some gold. But before we get started, I just want to thank all of you for your comments, suggestions, and questions that you had on my previous video, Desert Gold Wash Plant Innovations 2021. Now, if you haven't seen that video yet, go ahead and take a look at that so you have a better idea of what we're going to be talking about today. So anyway, there are some questions that I kind of want to answer. There were some very consistent ones. So I would just want to do that so that way the viewers like you can understand kind of more about how this wash plant works and some of the reasoning behind it. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, probably the most popular question is how come I don't use a flocculant or jet dry? Well, actually I do, and they're right here. I just didn't show it in the last video, but I do put some jet dry in the solutions to help break down any possible oils to help get the gold to settle. And then I also use a flocculant as well, okay? But really the flocculant doesn't work that well. I know there's a lot of hype these days about flocculants because there's stuff on the internet. People are talking about it and oh, what a great magic it is. It really is only magic in certain situations. And actually for this wash plant, it is not, okay? The reason why is that flocculants require time to actually pull out the particulates that are suspended in water and get it to conglomerate and settle to the bottom, okay? Now with my system here, that's really impossible because the water circulates through these two tubs every minute and a half. That's not enough time for the flocculant to actually take full effect. Now, if you have an operation like some of you saw Freddie Dodge that was out on Gold Rush, where he helped those people out in the desert with their ponds and everything to get things to settle, he was using a flocculant. That's because they had massive quantities of thousands of gallons of water, and it took several minutes, if not a half an hour, before that material flowed all the way around and got back into the pump and back up to the sprayers, okay? Now, in this situation, like I said, I only have two tubs, and that water flows through every minute and a half. It's just not enough time. Now, I do use the flocculant anyway, and it works actually the best when I'm all done. So when I've got a tub full of silty material and I want it all to settle down, I drop the flocculant in then too. And boy, I tell you, after about 10-15 minutes, that stuff just starts to work and settle it down. And that's when that really works, okay? So I just wanted to clarify the flocculant hype that's going on out there today in the mining community. All right, let's talk about the next questions. Now, the other question that was asked is that people were worried that I was actually losing gold through the dewatering shaker deck. And that is absolutely not true. The gold actually collects in the sluice. This is the sluice here. So all the material feeds up here, it gets washed, all the big stuff flows out in the tailings, all the finer stuff drops through the screen deck and ends up on the sluice. The gold is trapped here in the sluice. This is where the gold is found. And then finally, all the discharge from the sluice drops down onto the dewatering shaker deck. The purpose of the dewatering shaker deck is to separate the liquids from the solids. That is its sole purpose. It's not to recover gold whatsoever. Some people were concerned that the mud that ends up in the bottom of this tub was full of gold and I was losing it. And no, that is not true. In fact, I've done extensive testing with this sluice to get the right water flow and the right amount of material and all that in the right angle, so we're not losing any gold. We're getting about like 98% recovery, and that's pretty darn strong. Okay, I've done a lot of extensive testing with that to help prove that. Now, you're never ever going to get 100%. That's just impossible no matter what kind of system you're doing. But you want to maximize it as much as possible. The other thing is that if there was any gold that did fall through here, it's so microfine, you're not going to see it, okay? You're going to need a loupe to see it. And in fact, the only way to recover it will have to probably be by leaching methods, okay? And certainly not by gravity. But anyway, just safe to say that there is no gold being lost on the dewatering shaker deck. Its purpose is to remove the solids from the liquids. That's what it does, it just separates. Another common question, and it's probably my fault for not really explaining it in good detail, is these filter buckets, okay? So what this is, 5-gallon bucket, and I've got 1-inch holes drilled all around the bottom of this, okay? And then on the inside, I've got this little holder here that actually fits in the bottom of the bucket. Now this is commonly used for car washes, okay? And so what it is, you put it in the bottom of your bucket, so when you're washing cars, your sponges and towels and all that fit on top so it doesn't drop all the way to the very bottom and get tied up in all the dirt and the gunk. So that's what I'm using. Okay, and so what that does is that just fits here in the bottom of the bucket all the way down to the bottom, like you see here, and it's raised up about a good couple inches above the base of the bucket. Now on top of that, I have this screen mesh, okay? And this is typical pet mesh that you would put on your screen door. So you get a whole roll of this at the hardware store, and I just cut it out in a circle so it actually fits right on top of this, decking right here, okay? So what this does is it's going to hold the sand in the bucket, okay, and keep it from falling out through the bottom and through the holes. Okay, so what happens with this? This is a passive filtration system. So the water from the, in this case, the shaker deck or from the other tub flows into here. It's filled with sand. In this case, it's going to be 1/8 sand when I get it filled up, okay? And what happens is the water slowly drops through there and filters through the sand and exits out the bottom of these holes. Now what happens is that the material has, or the water has suspended particles in it of gunk, okay? So it attracts itself to the sand. Well, over time, it hooks onto the sand and then another piece hooks onto it, and so it keeps conglomerating. Eventually, the sand, or the stuff works its way through the sand all the way to the bottom. And if you notice, the holes are up off the bottom of the bucket purposefully. So that way the gunk, when it finally reaches the bottom of the bucket, flows out of these holes, same with the water, but stays on the bottom of the tub. And that's the whole idea, is to keep this gooey gunk on the bottom so it's not mixed in with the water, because you don't want to be pumping that back up onto the sprayers, because now it's just affecting your sprayers and it's affecting your gold recovery. So this is just a simple passive process. Now I'm going to show you here in just a few minutes a new filter system that I've actually added to this to help improve the quality so I can stretch the mileage out in our water here in our recirculation system. It's actually a pressurized filtration system. This is passive, and the next one I'm going to show you is pressurized. So let's get into that now. So what I've done here is develop this pressurized filtration system. What I've got is the hose coming off the pump that's inside the tub. That's that submersible trash pump, and it pumps the fluids and it bifurcates right here and flows into these two buckets. Now these are two specialized 5-gallon buckets that are filled with 16-inch sand. So the flow comes in through here, the water flows through the sand, works its way to the top, and then comes out the top, and then eventually works its way over the wash plant, which I'll show you here in just a few minutes how this sets up. Now these are very specialized buckets. These are not paint buckets that you'll find in the hardware store, okay? The hardware store ones with even the screw-on lids don't work. I tried that myself, and I was having buckets exploding all over the place. It was pretty funny, but they can't handle the load, okay? So these are specialized chemical biohazard buckets. They're actually made by a company in Chattanooga, Tennessee called M&M Industries, okay? And you can buy these, you have to buy them in lots of 5 on Uline, which is a box company in Los Angeles area. And anyhow, what I like about this is that it has this rim on here with this really thick rubber, and then it also has an inner lining component right here, as well as a corresponding bucket lid that has also this lining as well. So what goes on is that as the pressure builds up, the seals get tighter. If you use a paint bucket, if you put a hose clamp around it and all that, even with the screw-on lids, what happens is that when the pressure increases, the seals get loose and the water starts squirting everywhere. This is just the opposite. Again, this is designed to hold petrochemicals and biohazard and all that other toxic stuff. And the buckets are about twice the thickness of a normal paint bucket that you get at the hardware store too. So they're very specialized. Now what I do like about this is that it's got this handle on it that you can pop loose, okay, and anchor it down. So that way when it comes time to tighten the lid, you can really torque this thing down, okay? And so that gives you a really good tight seal, all right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to take this sand here. Let me just put this out of the way, all right? And we're just going to fill this up with 16-inch sand, about almost right up here to the angle here. So what happens is the water flows in here, it goes down, squirts into the bottom, and it sprays out and diffuses into the sand, and then works its way up to the top. So what we're going to do is go ahead and take our sand, this is 16th inch, and we're just going to pour it on in. There we go. Okay, so we can see the sand that's in here, and it's filled up to about this level. Now, what's really critical about this bucket is you got to make sure you don't have any sand particles trapped in this rim, because you don't want to damage the rubber seal or the groove in which the two lid halves fit together, all right? Now, also, you're probably wondering the rubber seals that I've got here. This is made by Uniseal, and they sell all different sizes that fit for PVC pipe. It's great for barrels and all that. I'll leave their email or their website address in the description, so if you want to build one of these things, you can do so, and I'll take you to the site so you can pick up the right parts and all that. Okay, so now that we have this put together, what we're going to do next is we're going to put the lid on. Of course, the corresponding lid has this little spout, and it has this little crank handle that I talked about, so that just sets right on there. And of course, now we got to kind of fit it on here real good. It's actually it's kind of tough getting it on at first. You got to figure out where, there it goes. Okay, then it drops in. And so what I like to do is I like to kind of turn it by hand first, just to make sure I have it in there, and then we're going to go ahead and tighten it down with the handle. You don't want to get it super, super tight, but you want it tight enough that it makes a good seal, okay? And that's exactly what this is doing. So now the lips that are inside are coming together, and that rubber ring seal on the outside is smashing up against the outer rim, so that way it's making a nice super tight seal. So we'll go ahead and assemble the rest of the hoses that go onto here that run up to the shaker deck. All right, I think we're about ready to fire up the wash plant. Here's the bucket that I was talking about earlier for the passive filtration. It's got the 1/8 inch sand in it. It's in the secondary tub. And then over here I've got the pump. And as you remember from previous videos, I also got a bag of sand sitting up against the pump to help guard any kind of silt material from getting sucked in the pump from this bucket that's over here. Okay? And then of course we have the piping that comes up, and that flows into our two pressurized sand filters that are holding 1/16 inch sand, so it's a very fine filtration process to help remove the final bits of suspended particles before it goes all the way back up to the shaker deck. And so there's where it's piped in. And so now we've got the shaker deck here, and everything is all set. The sluice is ready, and so is the dewater deck. So now we're ready to go ahead and get this thing all fired up and get it working. Okay, folks, we've got everything all turned on here. Got the filters working. Got the sprayers going on up here in the shaker deck. Got the vibrators on. Everything's flowing nicely through the sluice. See the water flowing down through the sluice here? That's where the gold collects. And then everything drops down into the dewatering deck. So here we are at the dewatering deck. Everything flowing in here. You can kind of see inside a little bit. A lot of foam from the soap and all that, or from the jet dry. There's the motors. Yep. So we're ready to start sluicing. So this is the material that we're going to be running today. It's about 3/4 of a cubic yard from the material that I got on the other side of the claim. And we're going to feed it in the wash plant, see if we get any gold. Okay, we're ready to start feeding some material in here. Start washing some rocks. Woo! Boy, this stuff is really gooey in here. Got to run a little slower than usual. Got a lot of clay in here. Woo! Yeah, you can see a lot of gooey clay in here. A lot of clay. This will be a real challenge to run. Hopefully there's a lot of gold in this. Look at all this rock coming off here. Look how whistle clean it is. Some people are complaining the rock is not clean. Look at that. That is whistle clean, guys. Okay? Look at that. Perfect. And then look at the gooey mud coming off the dewatering deck. Now this doesn't have gold in it. The gold's up here in the sluice. Okay? This is just the waste material slowly flowing off into the tailings there. And this is all gooey clay that would normally be gumming up your filtration or your water system going up here to the spray bar. And this is now eliminating that. That's down to 200 mesh. That's 74 microns. Woo! Let's feed some more material in here. Let's get this thing going. What I love about this machine is that it washes all rocks. Now, I'm not talking washing boulders, but at least rocks up to about 6 inches in diameter, okay? And this thing can handle it. And this thing is just dancing away. So let me show you what's going on inside this box here. It looks really cool. Okay, I'm going to try to dump the dirt and hold the camera at the same time so you can see it kind of in action here. See how the sprayers are just working on that material? Washing it all down, look at that. Getting nice and clean there. So when it comes off to the chute, look at that. Look how clean that rock is. Some people were complaining about the rock not being clean. Look at that, that's just whistle clean coming off of there. That's pretty awesome. Let me throw some more dirt in here so we can see that happening. See how that's working? So up on the top I've got 1/8 inch grid, and then the lower part of the deck is 1/4 inch. So both 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch fall through the holes, then end up down on the sluice, and you can see the sluice there working in action. Now, let me get a better shot of that. You see the sluice working here in action, flowing on down to the dewatering shaker deck. Pretty cool, huh? You can see down in here, here's all the water coming into the pond. This is called the pond here. This is where the water separates, and then it goes around over here underneath the vibrator. See the vibrators there? And see how it starts to separate. And now look at this stuff. See all this gooey clay just marching down off into the tailing chute. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, we're taking out the trash. This is my tailings ramp. Take me out to the tailings, get it away from the wash plant. I don't have a cliff or a hill to actually push the material over, so I have to build my own hill. So this is all the tailings coming off of the wash plant, both the stuff that comes through the sluice as well as the waste rock. So we'll shovel this stuff out. And yeah, I thought about getting conveyor or some kind of tip thing to make it all happen, or, you know, just get some kind of other kind of thing to help move the material. And maybe one of these days I will. But I think when I build the portable wash plant, it's not going to matter, because eventually the wash plant is just going to be moved right to the dig site instead of bringing all the dig site to the wash plant. So it'll be a lot easier. In the meantime, let's go work some more material. Woo! So we're going to run more material in here. Here we go. Just a little breezy here today too. Woo! Find that gold. Okay folks, it's about time to shut it down. This is the last of it coming off the deck. Still nice and clean. And look at that gooey clay down there coming off the dewatering deck. Look at that. This stuff was extra gooey compared to previous runs. Now the water itself is still looking really good. We're doing some good filtrations going on. And you can see that the water up here on the deck is actually looking really good. Even though it's a little brown, it's still very clear. So it's still maintaining good lubricious content. So the filters are working really well. Okay, let's go ahead and shut her down, and we'll see what we get out of the sluice. You can see the sluice running down here, everything flowing down to the sluice and down to the dewater deck. Okay folks, we got everything all shut down here, and so before we take the sluice out and see if we got any gold, I just want to show you this filter system, okay? I remember talking about the bucket that has the sand in it, so I'm just going to slowly lift it up. Now there's one inside here we can't get to right now, but I just want to direct your attention to this filter here. So I'm going to dump some of the water out, okay? And you can see all the sand, and look at the goo coming out the bottom of this, okay? So this did a really super effective job of filtering out the suspended particles in the water here. Now also you can tell how efficient it is, because look how smooth this water is. See how lubricious it is? It's not like the consistency of milk. So this is what you want. You want to have a complete filtration system, so that way you can have fresh water going back up onto the spray bars and processing fresh material. And that's the key to this whole operation, is the sand. And of course, obviously the pressurized sand filters with the 16th inch sand did really excellent. So really technically we ran about 3/4 of a yard. We could probably run at least another 3/4 of a yard before we would have to change all this out. Now let me just show you here. I'm going to dig down deep here into the tub. And look at this gooey, gunky clay that came out of it, okay? So that just shows you that what happens is it flows through the bucket, through the holes in the bottom, and stays on the bottom. And that is the key to keep this gunky stuff from going anywhere, especially up into your spray bars and into your system. So that's the whole idea. Now this stuff is so gooey, you could probably make pots out of it, or probably sell it as a cosmetic, as a beauty cream, who knows? But anyway, it's doing its thing, and that's what we want. So we'll go ahead and take the sluice out, take a look at it, see if we got any gold. So we'll go ahead and take the sluice out and see if we have any gold. So it just rests right on these 2 bars, and I'll just lift it up. It's got a little stop up here that I got to get past. And we'll go ahead and pull it out, and we'll bring it right over here to this tub, and we'll take a look at it. So I ran a little bit of clear water over this first part of the sluice, and already we're seeing gold. You look at right here, we got this nice little piece of gold right here. Let me bring it up to you. You see that? So we already got a nice little piece right before we even get to the major part of the riffles. And then if you come down here, we got another one that's actually stuck to a piece of black sand, okay? And then there's some more right down in here. There's a little one right here. So if we just kind of scan down through here, we'll see little bits of gold sticking in here into the riffles. So let's go ahead and get this thing taken out and see if we can pan it out and see what we actually get. Okay, folks, we're panning down the concentrates here, and I removed all the blonde stuff, so that way I don't want to bore you with all that panning going on. So we're just right down to the black sand here. So let's go ahead and see what we got. So we'll just go ahead and just carefully pan down all the stuff here. We'll slowly move all the big chunks of black sand out of the way. I'm using a Maverick pen. It's made by Snake River Products. And already we're starting to see a piece of gold showing up right there. So that's actually quite a nice little chunk there showing up. Not too bad. Okay. And we'll put that up in the pile here a little bit. There we go. Okay. And we'll continue to pan on down. See what else we got down here. There's some nice, that's a nice little picker there. And we'll go ahead and keep our cut going. And we'll try to keep the glare off so that way you can kind of see what's going on here. I'll tip it up here. You see some of the gold starting to show up on the pan. Yeah, here's some more pieces starting to come in. Oh yeah, look at this over here. Now look at this. Okay, now we're starting to see some really good stuff showing up right here. So I'll bring this up closer to the camera so you can see it. I'll get the glare out of the way. Yeah, looking pretty good. Nice little chunky pieces there. Not too shabby. Yeah, look at that. In fact, that piece right there looks like it's going to turn into a picker. And so, yep, sure enough, it's a picker. And we can pick it up. There it is. Pretty good. That's awesome. So, like I said, we ran about 3/4 of a yard. And look at all this nice little chunky gold starting to show up. Wow, this looks like this is going to be some pretty good new ground here that I'm going to be working. Look at this gold. Check it out. Look at that all the way across. Pretty awesome stuff. Now we'll just keep on cutting down, see what else there's down below here. Yeah, look at that, even more. All right, now let's see what's up here in the corner. See if we got anything hiding up there. Maybe a few pieces. Yeah, we got some few small pieces hiding up there. Now what I do notice is that there's not a lot of fine stuff. I mean, there's some, but not a huge amount like in the other place where I've been digging. So this is a new spot, which I'm kind of liking better because the gold is much chunkier. Yeah, definitely making a good show here. Yeah, okay, so now we got some fine stuff up here in the corner, so I'll bring it up to the camera so you can see it. Yep, and we'll kind of just move it around so you can see all the gold, even that's slid off to the other side of the pan. Okay, folks, well, that's it. We did pretty good. It looks like this is going to be a winner. We are. I'm 62. Oh, you're right up there with me, girl. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to smash that like button and please subscribe. Take two. This is what happens. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Looks like we found some pretty good gold, so I'm going to be moving the wash plant over there to do some digging. So if you like this video, be sure to smash that like button and also hit the subscribe button and the little bell so that way you get future updates whenever I post a new video, because there's going to be a lot more wash plant videos coming up in the future. In the meantime, I wish you the very best in your prospecting adventures. Get out there and find some gold, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.